welcome back to our channel. I'm Krystal.
I'm Thomas. I'm not supposed to say.
Oh yeah, you're in the video.
And this is Samuel. He'll probably go to sleep on us.
Yeah, he just ate. So today's video, as you can tell by the title, I'm going to be talking about my dad's passing and how I've been dealing with it. And Thomas is basically here for moral support. He said he wanted to say a couple of things, but
I'll say once we get into it, because I'll get emotional, but anyway, we'll go. We'll
try not to cry
in
this video, but I mean, talking about my dad, so
she don't cry about nothing. Right?
It's gonna, I mean, if you guys are gonna be like triggered by watching this video, I'll put a warning in the title, but it's gonna be a little bit sad. All right, so my dad passed May 26, 2018. I don't know the exact time. It was like a Saturday, right at 12-ish. On Monday, he had a stroke, and that was what ultimately he passed from. He had a stroke. He was getting ready for work, and Thomas was home with Torian at the time, because Torian was like 10 months, I think. Yeah, my younger brother was home, and my dad just, he passed out in the bathroom.
That's when he had his, was the aneurysm stroke. And he was calling, he called out, he was calling me, but I thought it was someone else. I thought it was actually her mom coming in the door. I thought something happened because of the way it sounded. He was in his room. I mean, Torian was asleep because they just got finished their normal thing. He would come get Torian every morning, mess with him for a little bit. They do their thing. He'd feed him a banana. That was their routine. They have fun. And then he'd go get ready for work. So,
this was like 8-something in the morning.
Yeah, because he had to be working at 9, yeah. So he came back thinking nothing of it. We going back to sleep, so heard the voice, it was very muffled and very distant. So I came to the door thinking it was her mom. And I went back to the room, I'm like, well, what's going on? And he called me again, and then he was in the bathroom, pretty much on his knees. Really couldn't breathe. He was laboring for breath. He could breathe, but his speech was very slurred. We lifted him to the bed, put him on the bed, and then we called 911, after that.
I was at work, and then I got a call from Thomas saying that, something that my dad had fell in the bathroom, and so the ambulance was here to come pick him up and take him to the hospital. And so I dropped everything at work, and I came home as quick as I could, and I picked Thomas and I think it was just you and Torian at the time. Yeah, because my younger brother rode in the ambulance with my dad. So I picked Thomas and Torian up, and we went to the hospital, which is like literally like 5 minutes away from our house. And they had him in a triage room, sort of, kind of the room they put you in like before you go into like a big huge room if you have something serious going on. So they were in the room trying to like calm him down and
get him to respond to
like certain, like they were doing tests, like testing his his
sensory,
and
his motor, his sensory, his vision, his language, his arm, his hand movement, just all the movements that is related to
that type of
a stroke or something like that, to that nature. And so they was trying to get to respond, and
well, before we got to the hospital, I had to call my mom. I think they were trying to call her, and she wasn't answering because she works at a daycare. So I was trying to get a hold of her to tell her what was going on, and trying to get a hold of my other older brother. He was at work as well, so we were all trying to get in contact and rush to the hospital as quick as we could. And so when we got there, like we said, they were doing the sensory tests on him and seeing if he could talk, communicate like what was going on. And I think the only thing I really heard was he said that his head, like the back of his head, was hurting. And like right after that, they kind of like, you know, they did a little bit more testing and they just took him up to a room. We went into, yeah, they took him to ICU. Yeah, and then we went into like a waiting room. So we would stay there all day up until 6 o'clock, because at 6 o'clock they have like, they want you to kind of leave the ICU so the patients can kind of, you know, rest. That Monday night I didn't sleep at all. I was so nervous.
Yeah, I was more the kind of upset one because I found him, and till this day I still don't think I got to him soon enough. I want to say, but you know, the doctors, I don't know if I, you know, with that, you know, to this day, still don't think. Even maybe the time I walked to the door, I keep questioning, but the doctors told me it was, you know, that's you did everything you could do. They assured that, but that still.
Yeah, that weighs on him a lot. You know, him being the one who had to find my dad in that state, because my dad, up until he went into the hospital, he was pretty healthy. He was very like, yeah, he was a fit guy.
You the same age, he worked out. He was diesel.
Yeah, he was. He had broad shoulders, and you know, his arms were huge. But you know, Thomas does think that he could have done something a little bit more than what he did to help my dad out. But it was just his time to go. And I hate seeing him upset about it, because it's not his fault that my dad passed, or he couldn't help him any more than what he could. You know, he did what he could. But yeah, so Monday night I didn't sleep. I was restless. I was nervous that my mom was gonna get a call that my dad passed during the night. But not luckily, but that didn't happen. So we went the next day, Tuesday. Was that the day that they did the heart check on him?
I think so.
I think that was, they checked his heart and it looked like a piece or something was like, just like, was it beaten out of place? Okay. I don't remember like all that. They checked his heart. They were doing like brain tests and stuff.
Yeah, that's the stuff I was.
They said he had a lot of blood on his brain. So we just sat at the hospital, mainly just waiting to see what was gonna happen with him on that day. We had family come in, you know, come sit with us in the waiting room while we waited to see what was going on. And, you know, we were trying to make sure my mom was okay. You know, this is her husband. And we just went through a passing with our pastor, 3 months before. So it was kind of like falling into the same thing that happened with her. So, you know, we were making sure my mom was okay. We were making sure each other were okay. And so Tuesday we stayed up until 6 again, and then we went home. And so Wednesday, I got up and I went to work, and I think I was at work for like 2 hours, 2.5, maybe 3. My mom called me and she told me that they said, the doctor said he was brain dead pretty much. And so I broke down at work. Thankfully I was in the back and I wasn't around like customers or anything, but I just broke down and I was yelling and I was screaming. And I just told my managers that I had to go. I didn't tell them why. They knew my dad was in the hospital, but I just left. I was crying on my way to go clock out, and so I had to go to my younger brother's job to tell him, and that was the hardest thing, just to see him just kind of just kind of like his posture just dropped. His demeanor was just, it's hard to explain. He just almost broke down and cried at work like I did. So I picked him up. We got in contact with our older brother because he was at work too, and we told him to come to the hospital so we could decide what we wanted to do. So Wednesday we had a whole bunch of people at the hospital waiting in the waiting room with us. My mom, you know, she held strong the whole time, telling us, you know, this is what's going on. The doctor said he's pretty much gone, so we're gonna, you know, figure out what we're gonna do while we wait for other family members to come into town and say their goodbyes to him. So Wednesday I said my first goodbyes to him. I kissed him on his forehead, and you know, him being brain dead, he didn't really have any, you know, consciousness of where he was, but I kissed him on his forehead, and he turned slightly in my direction, and that was it for me. So that was my first goodbye to him, and I don't think I went to work the rest of that week. So we decided to, and I didn't really go back to his room while we were there. By being a daddy's girl, I didn't like seeing my dad in that state. So I just stayed in the waiting room, and I did things to kind of take my mind off of where we were and what was going on. So Thursday we stayed there, Friday we stayed there, and Saturday was the day that we decided that we were going to take him off life support. So we were going to take him off life support at like 12 in the afternoon, and going to the hospital that day, knowing that this is the last day you get to physically see your father, you know, somewhat alive, and you being able to say goodbye to him, and he can hear you a little bit, that was hard for me. I didn't go back to watch them take him off life support. That would have been, I think I would have been more of an emotional wreck than I am now. I think I would have went to a deeper depression. And so Saturday, everybody came to the hospital, and they were saying their goodbyes up until 12. And so at 12, the nurses, they started
taking all the IVs and breathing tubes and everything out. Before we actually got in the room, they don't like you to see that part. And then everybody was just there to, you know, he was strong, even down to the last heartbeat. He was. It took him a minute. Took him a minute to go. So everybody was there, and everybody, you know, doing their things, crying and praying. Pastor and everybody was there, and he was just started getting back into playing his guitar, and he loved jazz music and listening to jazz music. So I put the station he listened to. Yeah, I put it on Pandora and put it on jazz music while he was, you know, as he was transitioning. It was just right at the end. You know, he's fighting and breathing. His breath was laboring, and a tear came down. And after a tear came down, you know, I was like, oh, that's it right there. He has no more left to give, and he just. You know, I've seen it before, I've done it before, but I've sat with that man in here. I call him that man. He's funny dude, smart as oh my goodness.
Gosh.
They didn't like conversating with him because he was too smart. He would go in the atmosphere so far that you'd be like, all right, you got to come back down a few so I can, you know, at least hang with you. But I love talking to him because me and him would talk about just so many things, and he was one of those to go in depth to what, you know, whatever the conversation was, he would go. Very, very smart dude, and it was just, you know, that part of, you know, my kids, and with Tori and then, he loved him some Tori, and oh my goodness, he held him more than, I won't say more than I did, but as much as he could, he was holding him and you know, just loving up on him, and I was like, yeah, I don't care what you do. As long as you grab them before everybody else do, and love up on them and kiss up on them. That's what you do. That's what you're supposed to do. You know, your grandpa, just get in there and do it. I said, because you never know. I wasn't even thinking about nothing like that. You never know.
Yeah, but, so they called us, well, they were taking the tubes out, like he said, the IV and the breathing tubes out. And I mean, as soon as they were pulling out the tubes out, they were running into the waiting room telling us, hey, it's time to come. He's, you know, transitioning really quickly. So they all went into the room. I stayed back with Torian because babies aren't, you know, supposed to be in that kind of in the ICU because they have all these different germs and stuff. Well, I did want to go, but I stayed with Torian anyway. It was a little after 12. They started taking the tubes out, and they rushed into the waiting room telling us it's time. Well, they went and you know, they all were standing around his bed. I've heard, and my mom telling my dad, you know, it's okay, we're gonna be fine. He can, you know, transition. And I think that's when Thomas said that, you know, they put jazz on and
yeah, I have my phone. I put on jazz music, yeah, so he can listen to it and
kind of
be relaxed.
Peace,
yeah, because that was his thing. You know, I can picture him now just playing his guitar up in heaven.
All I can hear when they was doing "Can't Nobody Do You Like Jesus," him on that guitar.
Not going to the room, I don't really know what all took place. You know, I've heard from Thomas, I've heard from my brothers, and I've heard from my mom what all happened, but you know, being there is a completely different thing. Yeah, he passed May 26th, right after 12:15 in the afternoon. And going home to, leaving the hospital and going home was just like this empty feeling. It just felt weird. I've never had to go into the hospital with a loved one and then they not come home after. So I can't even describe the rest of that day. For me, it was a haze.
And only because I've been through things like that. You know, the most I tell anybody, if you want some comfort, if you want any comfort, you know, everybody know he's a minister, he was elder in the church, so you know, he made his peace with God, and that was his life. So we had no
doubts of where he was, going in afterlife.
I said, here we got to know that it's his will, as much as I still feel like it's mostly my fault. I know it's God's will that he needed to come home. So that was cool. You know, I just had to make peace with myself. But I told everybody, I said, you want to feel at peace? Grab Torian, hug him, walk around with him. Your peace will increase, and all that emotion would just kind of go away, because he'll hug you back. Then he was hugging you back, and it felt so good. And he gave you these hugs, you know, so it put that smile on your face and a smile in your heart. So those things would kind of slowly go away. I had an issue because I used to, and I tell you guys this, bless you, baby. I drank heavily. I used, you know, I drank to where I got in trouble. I drank, you know, I got in trouble a lot. Had a DUI. I'll tell anybody my testimony. I was leaving the hospital because I left by myself, and I was going to one of my favorite spots to drink. And I hadn't had a drink before that in how many years, man? About 3 years.
No, it wasn't that long.
Yeah, okay. Well, it was about 2 years and I hadn't had a drink. But I was going to get a drink, and I asked God, I asked the Lord, please, if you don't want me to drink, please stop me some kind of way. I didn't want to be in an accident, but, you know, stop me in some kind of way. I said, I just want to drink a beer. Well, I pulled up into the place. And as soon as I pulled up, got into the parking spot, get ready to get out, my pastor called. Pastor called and said, Thomas, you know, I need your help. Come look at my water heater. But I wasn't listening to what I asked for. I said, well, you know, other than God speaking to me, if I believe in my pastor, you know, and this man is no joke. So he called me and called me enough. And he said, can you come over and just take a look at it? Well, I said, sure, I'm on my way. But that was my testimony, or my word, saying that God intervened in me having a drink. Because you know, I'm going to have one, I got one more. You know how that goes. being I hadn't had any drinks or didn't even think about drinking, but if I keep letting things upset me like that, to go drink, I would never move to my level I need to move to. And I didn't want her to go back into a depressed mode, because it's you, just like me drinking, going back, it's some sort of addiction or mood that any situation could put you back into whatever state, you were in, depression, drinking, So I just kept saying, hey baby, can I help you with anything? Do you need me to do anything? Hug baby, and still being with her, it's hard to communicate with her, and it would be hard. I didn't try to force it, but I just tried to get understand, that I had been through that with family members, and I took the wrong roads. My whole thing was, I drank, but I never thought I drank while I got drunk. I didn't kill anybody, I didn't hurt anybody else but myself, but I didn't want her to go back into depression where that was, that compounds another thing, and yeah, you want to talk? You want to say something too?
So I got to meet my pop in heaven.
Yeah, most likely.
Probably. I didn't go into a depressive state after my dad passed, which I'm really thankful for, because I don't think I would have pulled out of it. I think I might have at least tried to have. I think I might have at least tried to have committed suicide, because losing your father, a parent, at such a young age, and I was 26 when he passed. 26 is young, and I still have a whole adult life to live, and not having my dad around to just kind of bounce sound ideas off of.
No, she was spoiled.
That too, but
he spoiled her, and
we had our talks. We did have our talks. We talked.
He spoiled her, and then she knew she could get whatever she wanted.
Not even that. Just to have his presence around.
That's everybody else.
What?
Ask everybody. Your mama say it. Your brothers will say it.
I was a daddy's girl. I'm the only girl. He named me.
But she doesn't like her name, so I don't get it.
Cause I got in trouble. That's my trouble name. He named me. Just to have my dad around. Growing old and him getting to see, his grandkids and being able to play with them. That's something I kind of wish he was here around to have seen. He was able to spend 10 months of Torian's life with him, and they had like an inseparable bond. Those two were like two peas in a pod, really. Well, everywhere my dad went, Torian was with them in a sense, just in the house. But going back to not being depressed, I'm thankful to God that He allowed me to just kind of, grieve in a sense where it wasn't taking a toll on me to grieve. I wasn't at my lowest of lows. I was able to kind of bounce back to a happy, positive state. It being 2 years almost after him passing, I still do have certain days where, I miss my dad and I wish he was here to see certain things, but I know he's kind of, looking on us and making sure we're, living a life that will make him proud. Just our lifestyles, and, knowing one day that when we pass, we'll be able to see him again. So I think, we're doing him proud. And my mom, she said she wanted to be in this video. I don't know how true that is. She said she wanted to say a couple things about my dad, being that they were married for 30 years. Was it 30 years?
Something like that.
Almost 30 years. No, it was 30 years.
30 something years.
Almost. No, he passed right before their anniversary. I think their 30th anniversary.
I thought she kept saying like 30, 33. 33 sounds like a right number.
It could have been 33.
It sounds like, because Quinn is 31. It was married before that.
I think I just wanted to share how he passed and how I've been dealing with his passing and how we've been dealing with it. And we just kind of wanted to, shed light on being able to grieve and be being able to grieve in a positive way that's not destructive to, you know, your mental health or your physical health. You know, people do pass. That's just kind of way of life, and you know that you can get to a place where you're not as upset of the passing, and you can live a life beyond the passing. So I think that's what we wanted to share.
Yeah, that's very good, babe.
But yeah, we thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you made it this far, we appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe if you are new to the channel. Leave a comment, give us a like, do whatever you need to do.
Tell some friends.
Share the video.
We appreciate everything, you know, y'all say, do,
Yes.
like or dislike. We need to hear it, you know.
Yeah, we need to hear feedback.
We're trying to get more videos like this, getting a little bit more into certain feelings like we did in the other one. If you didn't see that, should probably link it.
I have it in the card somewhere,
Yeah.
whatever direction it is. Our marriage talk, and I'll link it in the description.
And we appreciate that, and you know, keep God at the center of your life, and you're good, and He'll guide you the right way.
Bye, guys. Talk to you in another. We'll see you in another video.
Love you.
Love
Be
you
good.
guys.
Tell somebody you love them.
You wanna say bye, Stinky?
You gonna say bye, Stinky?
He milk drunk. He just downed a whole 5-ounce bottle with cereal in it.
Say bye bye.
Say bye,
Sam.
Stinky. Look.
Sam, you look at yourself. You like looking at yourself. See,
Look.
you see yourself.
Ooh.
Say bye bye.
Goodbye,
Say
Stinky.
bye, Stinky. Well, bye bye, Stinky. No,
Oh,
he
okay,
said
bye.
forget you out.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye bye. Take care.
And he tries to break us down. And he tries to break us down. He tries to make us believe that God ain't got your back. That trust in the word of God. Live by Jesus' example. Because it is written. It is written. And it is written.
If you wish and are able, please rise for the honors. Ma'am, on behalf of the President of the United States Army, and a grateful nation, please accept this flag as a symbol of our appreciation for your loved one's honorable and faithful service.